Hi guys, welcome back to Unlearn with Bianca. I just recorded a half an hour audio with my friend Brenna here and I hadn't pressed live. So we are doing this round two. Welcome Brenna. I'm here with Brenna Harford. She is my co-facilitator at Embodied.
Hello, thanks for having me. It's my first time here, so
First time doing a podcast. So I thought it would be really cool to have Brenna on for a chat. So we can both talk about what Embodied is, which is the event that we run together in Christchurch for women. I'd love to explore and help you guys understand how dance can really connect into the nervous system, why we're putting this event on, and just hear our own personal stories because we come from quite different backgrounds and I think it syncs up really well. And I hope by the end of this episode, you see yourself in one of our stories and really connect into that. Because I know for a few of you listening who have been to Embodied or a few people that have reached out to me, they've said the thought of it sounds quite scary. Sensual dance, embodiment, it's quite out of people's comfort zones. But I want to reassure you that it's so much more than that. And we're going to really get into that today. So, I will start very quickly with my reason for creating Embodied. I got back from Melbourne in May and I did some extra study and training, and part of that was learning embodiment techniques. I became a sensual embodiment facilitator, really working with the women's nervous systems. And up until this point, as you guys know, I've done a lot of study in terms of the brain retraining, neuroscience, and how that connects into the nervous system. But really, in the last few years, I've been drawn more into understanding female nervous systems and just the different approach that we can have that really supports our specific nervous systems and the cycles we go through as women. So when I got back in May, I was just really lit up and I was thinking, oh, how good would it be if there was a space where women come together, we can celebrate each other, we can connect, because so many of us are missing that connection point, a space where we can express ourselves and step out of our comfort zone, and also a space where at the same time we can slow down and help regulate our nervous system in terms of coming back down to our parasympathetic state to get back into our body. And I couldn't find anything, especially in Christchurch currently, so I thought, why not create it? And that is when I reached out to Brenna, who I had met through some dance classes. And Brenna was on, I think you were on straight away.
Yes, absolutely I was.
She was in, and I'll let Brenna quickly explain that it was also divine timing for her.
So I had been training heels especially for this idea because Christchurch, we have a few heels classes now, but at the time we didn't. And I really wanted to get into this more like sensual, really feminine, but it can be really strong as well, and really strong and powerful. So I started training heels and it felt a little bit like coming home. I loved it. But I got stuck in that loop of I haven't trained enough. I'm not ready yet. And so when you asked for me to come in and do these classes, I was like, oh, well, yeah, divine timing. This is actually what I need. It's that push of this is how you're going to do it and follow this. So it was a full like embodied yes.
And I love that because I actually didn't know Brenna that well. Like I'd done some classes, but my intuition was like, reach out to Brenna. I've been really trying to work on acting as soon as I get a feeling come in rather than sit on it. I know that confidence and competence in anything really takes a lot of action and moving through that discomfort. So I too was proud of myself for taking the leap and asking. But it's also a reminder that like things can happen really quickly, and often when we get that feeling they can be aligned. So I think what would benefit you guys is to learn more about our own journey with dance or with movement and the different angles that we bring into Embodied. Once we've talked through this, I'll share with you what we're actually doing in the session. But for now, let's learn a bit more about Brenna's dance journey, and then I'll go into mine and how we complement each other.
Beautiful. Well, my dance journey started at a really young age. I can't actually remember my first dance class. My sisters dance, my older sisters, so I started watching their classes and then jumped in eventually. And it started with anything and everything that I could get into. And I felt almost like I was put on stage straight away, coming through into like productions and recitals. I then went into dance exams and dance competitions as well. So it was a lot of like on performative kind of dancing. And I mean, I took that all the way up and through to my like early 20s. I went to a full-time dance school in Melbourne, and it didn't last very long, actually. I was there for just one term before I decided that I wanted to leave, because it was a really it was the like the unhealthy side of dance, and some of the things that the instructors were saying I just didn't sit right with me, and I didn't agree with it. So I left. However, that was like, I was 19 at the time, and I was like, that was my moment to make dance into my career.
It feels like a Netflix series when like these professional dancers can sort of have an image of what it would be like at one of those serious dance schools.
Yes, it was very much like makeup. You have to wear makeup every day. You have to be on, because the studio had big windows because they had scouts coming in. And so it was constantly on. And I was like, I'm here to train and I'm here to learn. But there was also some like kind of unhealthy habits that they were promoting as well. And it wasn't long after getting there that I realized that this wasn't the right space for me to learn. So I left, but it did feel like I failed. I was actually quite upset when I decided to leave. I know that was my choice because it put me into a really bad mindset. But I did feel like I had failed at creating my lifelong dream kind of thing. So I went on and off with dance between studying and trying to figure out what I wanted to do from there forwards. And then eventually I stepped into a pole studio because I was looking for that adult space. It's very like feminine. However, there are men that do come to the pole studio as well, but it was just that like everyone's really welcoming. You can turn up and be whoever you want to be. And that's what that space created. From there, it was a few years after I started, I was doing my first pole competition. And I realized halfway through making this routine that I love this and I love being creative. I love creating content in these flows and choreographies. And I was like, I want to teach. So I started then and there, that journey, and the rest is history. Like, yeah.
And so what's this current season of dance about? One thing I love about you when you teach is you come from like a really grounded place. It feels like very inclusive and everyone feels comfortable. So what's something you've learned and you're like moving through in this season?
I really love that you've brought in that like grounded, because it is a goal of mine. So I've come from like this really performative, as I said at the start, this really performative aspect of dance. And I found over the last few years of teaching and creating more that I'm kind of tired of performing, but it's not getting up on stage that I'm tired of. I'm tired of wearing that mask of feeling like I have to act and dance in a certain way to please other people. And that's what I'm tired of. And so I kind of had this realization, and it was only maybe 6 months ago that I was like, actually, doing this for other people isn't working for me. And I've really started learning what feels good for me and how can I unperform and find that dance and movement that's for me.
Yeah.
And then I do that in classes, and it seems to work because other people really enjoy it as well. So
good. Honestly, guys, if you are in Christchurch and you've come to one, everybody that's come to Embodied just said that they love Brenna's style, but it is the perfect kind of teaching for a beginner because I feel like you make the classes just feel, so grounded and inclusive of any starting point. And that leads me to my story as well, which I'll share, which is quite different than Brenna's. I haven't spent a lifetime of dance. I think I did jazz dance when I was about 8 in a season of Highland dance where I got probably a certificate for participation. I wasn't the best dancer back in the day. But I'm a dancer now. I'm going to claim that title, kind of. I started dancing about 3 years ago. I found it 3 or 4 years ago when I was moving through a season of grief and just heaviness. And I really felt like there wasn't a lot in life at that period of time that could distract me or anything that was making me feel like myself. So that really forced me to try new things. I was in Auckland at the time, so I had a lot of space and I didn't know a lot of people. So I feel like I was more confident to put myself out in those spaces. And I started with pole, and then that led me into some heels dance classes, which was more of a, I guess you could call it sensual dance. And what I learned through the process is, as someone who, that was like my worst nightmare doing a dance class, I won't lie, I really put myself out there, out of my comfort zone, because I had felt so uncoordinated, so disconnected to my body, so rigid, so stuck after a lot of stress. I think I just felt tight everywhere. It was such an eye opener. And when I was consistent, just showing up weekly, what I found is after 6 months or so, a year, I had a lot more fluidity in my body and just unwinding some of that tension in my fascia that I'd been carrying naturally over the few years. I found that I was able to take up more space, which makes so much sense for my mind, body, brain. When our body's physically taking up space, emotionally, it means that we can take up more space as well. And that really helped me feel more connected to myself and almost step into different personas in a way. It was just allowing me that freedom to step out of the rigid box that I had placed myself in and maybe people had put me in, and then just for an hour just embody this different version of myself that was connected to fun, that was connected to trying something new, that was taking up space. You know, even the music and that side of things, I had forgotten how long it had been since I really felt that feeling of, it doesn't have to be that deep, it doesn't have to be that serious. I can literally get out there and meet women and have a good time. And the other thing that I really got through dance was just this space where there was no judgment in the classes I was in. All the women that were in the classes, the occasional male as well, we were all there to support each other, but definitely in our own journey and there for different reasons. And I think just being in spaces with people that are also new to something, showing up for themselves, it's just so underrated. Just being a beginner alongside other beginners, there's nothing like it. And I hadn't put myself in that space for quite a while. So really, movement, and especially dance, it just added such a new element to my healing when I'd spent a lot of time, you know, understanding the mind, understanding the brain, also understanding the power of the body, but I was missing that fun and that connection between both of them. And I think in the Western world in particular, this is not so much sensual dance, but dance in general, we don't have a lot of spaces where we're just moving. Like I've heard if you go over to South America and different parts of the world, Africa, they're always moving to the beat. It's so regulating. But I feel like here, unless you're actively going out to dance at night or you're going to a dance class, we kind of forget how powerful just movement and rhythm can be. There's so many benefits, and I thought I would start with that because dance is a component of Embodied. I might go through quickly and share with you guys what we're actually doing within the 2 hours. So with Embodied, it is in Christchurch. We've had about 15 to 20 women in each session or each afternoon. How it works is the women show up, we have an opening circle, we are sharing with each other our intention, what we want to connect into, how we want to feel, like how we want to leave feeling, and that might be joy, it might be freedom, it might be I want to feel confidence, and everyone's really connecting into like why they came. And then we get into what we want to let go of and set an intention of what we're willing to release. And that could be something emotionally or physically. And then I take the woman into a really short visualization meditation just to ground into the space and connect them into their power center. I think I'm going to switch this up in the next few Embodied. So if you've already come, you might be getting something a bit different. I think we're definitely testing the waters with a few different things at the moment. And after that, I take some of the skills that I learnt on my sensual embodiment training and put them into practice. So we are moving fluidly with our eyes closed to 3 different songs. It's really a space to allow you to get out of your head and back into your body without the mind coming in, without the judgment of thinking anyone else is watching. Using breath, using sound, I intentionally get people to start on their hands and knees because it's quite a safe position to start on. And then from there, we can do some gentle movement like cat and cows, and then you're really getting into your body and feeling into what your body needs. So it might need to move in a particular way, you might need to get up, you might need to shake it out, and it's just having that space, which for a lot of us, including myself, felt really uncomfortable when someone says, let your body take the lead. What does it need? You're like, I have no fucking idea. I don't know where to start with that. But the more we put in spaces where it is a little bit edgy, the easier it gets. And then the more you can build your interoception, so your ability to recognize what's going on internally. And also, I think we spend so much time in our heads that we're not used to doing things where our body is just taking the lead for a lot of us. So it's just that opportunity to come back into the body. And when you're doing this, you are getting into your parasympathetic nervous system far more than your sympathetic, which is that fight or flight when we're on the go consistently. So the songs I put on are really slow for the most part. They are going to slow us down. We unwind our body. We release tension. And then from there, Brenna gets the ladies into a sensual dance routine, which is my absolute favorite part. Brenna is the best dance instructor. Like I said, every dance has been so different, but just so much fun. How would you even describe the dance? Anything you want to say on your part?
I was going to say, you're really hyping me up here.
I
know. Yeah, so I try and, like, when I create a routine or a piece of movement, I really have like the ladies and the women in mind when I'm trying to create a piece. I want it to be beginner friendly. So if you've got no dance experience, you could come in and feel like it's playtime where we're having fun. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then I also try and incorporate moments where you can explore movement in your own body, because I can give you, steps 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I want you to have some time, maybe, counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to slowly move those hands down the legs or something like that. Do a hair whip, something that feels good and natural for you in that moment, or that feels fun and playful for the woman there. So it's not just a really rigid, here are all the steps. It's here's the steps and here's how you can play with it. And make it your own. So that's my intention when I come in and create a piece of movement for the ladies.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so we have a lot of movement in the 2 hours, and then we finish off with a closing circle and just a reflection circle. And the feedback has been absolutely incredible from the ladies, a lot of them saying that they've felt more alive, they've felt more connected. And again, I think just when you're in that safe space, if you feel like you want to be vulnerable and then you understand that other people are feeling that same way, there's nothing like it. I really think we need more spaces of just, it's not that you have to overshare, but it's just knowing that other people are at the same point in their journey as you are. And it's always surprising to know how many people are feeling the same way about certain things. So all in all, it's 2 hours of fun, of movement, of slowing down, of speeding up, of sharing, of connecting. And that's how it goes currently. But I feel like the more we go through it, the more small iterations we will make. We've got lighting coming up in our next one. We're professional girls. We've got a mic coming in there. So yeah, we're definitely going to be leveling up with everyone we do. So that gives you an idea of what you would be stepping into if you come to one of our events. I would also love to talk about this idea around women feeling disconnected from their bodies and how we actually get to this point, because this is what I had in mind when I came up with the idea of Embodied. Yes, a lot of my nervous system sort of understanding was there, but I find that as women, a lot of us feel so disconnected at points in our life to our body. And I think some of that has to do with the pace that we live in today's day and age. I would love, Brenna, for you to share your thoughts on this, like what you see and what you hear in your community around that relationship to your body and what impacts that.
I have so many thoughts on this.
Let's go.
Let's go. So when you first posed this question to me, I just had so much come through. And the big one, than that first main one, was that at one point or in multiple points in our lives, and it starts it can start quite young with females, is that your body doesn't belong to you. It belongs to somebody else. And it's never usually like directly specified in that way. It's usually kind of like this underlining theme that comes through, being told you need to dress this certain way so you don't distract other people. Or I was told that a woman's job was to have children and make a family, and that's physically giving your body to somebody else. And then there's even like awful scenarios of that choice being taken away from someone with things like sexual assault and things as well. And I think all of those little and big moments trigger these thoughts and these beliefs that my body doesn't belong to me, it belongs to somebody else. So we then get this full disconnect, and sometimes it's easier to disconnect and not feel anything as well.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And I think depending on what season you are in life and what you've navigated, our relationship with our body can be so complex. I completely agree with everything Brenna said, and just from that societal conditioning, patriarchal lens has a massive impact on the way we relate to our bodies. And I think more from the lens I see, I'd say more the thought and the mind aspect and the nervous system aspect. We live in a world which is based on not a feminine nervous system clock or timeline. As we know, a lot of hustle is expected, and we have to actively work against that, I feel. We have to actively work against the system that is based on production and pushing and forward momentum. And I see so many patterns with the work I do just around the women that come to me with health issues, including myself in the past as well. I'm feeling burnt out mentally, disconnected from our bodies, or having pains or aches. And I think so much of that is because we become so disconnected from our body's cues for so many different reasons. And part of it is because we feel like we constantly have to do more. And we have this level of, am I doing it right? Like, do I look right? It's that the lens on us of, is our body looking right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right in comparison to them? And all of this mental clutter and overwhelm, it's just so much, I feel like, being a woman in general, let alone all the other expectations. So I had this in mind as well, with like, what do we, not speaking on behalf of all women, but the collective feeling is that people are tired and people are doing the best they can given the systemic world we live in. And this space that we've created, I feel like, gives people that permission to slow down and come back to their body and their life force, which is a massive part of our health where we don't speak about enough. I, for myself, felt extremely disconnected to my body, my sexuality, my sensuality for so many years. And that comes in waves, I think, for everyone. I think we'd be lying if we said it was something it looks different to everyone. But I think that sort of feeling of like, I'm enough as I am, I can take up space, I have this energy and this aliveness running through me. And even if I connect to that for like an hour every month, and that's my time to like tune into just what I want, what I need, no expectations from family, from friends, from society, and I'd say retuning into that, because it's always been there. It's just uncovering that to fire it up again. I think there's something so powerful in that.
There's definitely like seasons for it as well, because there might be a season where you feel really on top of it and you're like, I feel fantastic, I feel great. And then, a couple of weeks later, it's, I actually feel kind of cruddy. Why don't I feel that good anymore? Or so I think part of that embodiment practice is knowing when you're not feeling, tip top, then you can give yourself permission to not feel tip top and actually just take a moment, take a step back and reevaluate. Because what you're saying, the pattern that we've got, or the rhythm of society, is that 24-hour clock and that cycle of constantly, you get up, you go, you rest, you get up, you go, you rest. Whereas like this feminine cycle is a lot more, it's longer. It's like, a 4 week cycle. And it's knowing that there'll be moments where we feel really fantastic in our bodies, and there are moments that we're not going to feel so fantastic, and all of it is welcome, all of it's okay.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that's been a massive change in the way I've approached my practices, and the sensual embodiment practice that I bring into excuse me, Embodied, I do most mornings as well, and it's really about meeting what is present in your body. Sometimes that can look like heaviness or grief or stress, and it's actually creating space where you can, no, it sounds interesting, but be with that and not make it mean the next story. Move it through your body without all the stories attached and the shame attached. And I shouldn't be feeling like that. Unless we meet something and have space for it, then it can move through like an emotion. You know, they last for 90 seconds unless we feed the story, and then it can continue, and that's where we get stuck in our thoughts, and then we're pulled out of our rested state back into our head. It's a big cycle. So actually having space to slow down and meet what is present, I think, is so powerful, because another thing that disconnects us from our bodies is us not being taught how to honor our emotions, and I say process our emotions, but really it's just like cater to them and let them flow through. When we have shame, if something's inconvenient, such as anger, such as frustration, as women, I think it's the biggest bullshit lie, because actually, if you're disconnected from your anger and your sadness, that's suppression. And you guys know, I think most of you listening would have heard my story. I spent that's all I knew for most of my life, and that contributed to chronic stress in my body, which more than likely led to some chronic pain as well, because my body was trying to get me back into that relationship, into dealing with emotions in a different way. There's different ways we can do it, but really what I wanted to open up the floor with and talk to Brenna about was just that there's a space where we don't have to force. And I think up until recent years, for me, a lot of my exercise and movement and rigidity in the way I approached eating and my body image, so much of it was just force, and it was expectations I placed on myself based on what will people think, how should I do this? There was no internal connection to what my body needed moment to moment. Okay, guys, so we're going to round it out for today, but really I wanted to introduce Brenna. We wanted to share what Embodied was all about. For those of you who have been sitting on the fence and thinking, I've been wanting to come, but I'm a little bit nervous to go by myself, what can I expect? I hope that this really helps reassure you and clarify any questions you have. And maybe you've seen yourself in either of our stories today, and that's just connected a piece of the puzzle for you. I am so confident that Embodied actually will go beyond what's currently happening, what we're currently running. I'm that confident we've got something great here. So myself and Brenna will be, like I said, we'll be going through making it even better and tidying it up and seeing what works and what doesn't. But I'm going to put it out there to anyone who is in Christchurch, or actually New Zealand, if there's any of you listening who really are connecting into what we're saying, and you're thinking, oh, I'd love for my group of friends or my team at work or any kind of group to go through this process and really have a fun experience, one that brings in education around the nervous system. If you're listening and this is something that is really feeling aligned, then you're more than welcome to reach out to us, because I do see it heading in that direction. We would love to be able to offer this experience to a wider population as well. So please do get in touch if you feel like this is aligned and we can look into it further. Thank you so much for coming to chat today, Brenna.
Thank you so much for having me.
And we'll see you guys on the next episode.